Ryan Girdusky is on with us. He is the founder of the 1776 Project PAC and a political consultant. Welcome, Ryan. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's been one crazy 12 hours.
I bet it was. For people who didn't hear it, let me play what happened on CNN.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing.
You're called an
anti-Semite
more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say
you should not.
No,
Did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
No, I did not.
On
live TV.
I said I hope
Guys,
you don't.
let me just stop.
So there's this fake outrage of, you just say I want to be killed. And Ryan immediately apologizes. Okay, fine. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. It was wrong. But the other guy doesn't apologize to you for calling you and people like you a Nazi. In my book, that's worse than a Hamas member. I mean, they're in the same category, but one's worse.
Well, the funny thing is, I sound much funnier in re-listening to it than I did live because it was going crazy. Well, also the crazy thing was is that he also said like Trump sounded like Goebbels. Now, I had never met Mr. Sam before. I have heard a lot about him, but he was making accusations that I was calling him an anti-Semite, that I was like doing all these things to him. I've never spoken about him before. I had no idea who he was. And going on to that show, I decided so what happens is if you don't do cable news, the producers text you all the topics a few hours in advance, and they could range from things you know a lot about to things you don't know anything about. So one of the topics that they just changed, they're going to do 2 segments on the Trump rally because obviously it's the most important thing in the world. They actually scrubbed something about like war to cover, the show, the comedian Phil Tony. So then we were going on to do a segment at the end with Brian Stelter about trust and accuracy in the media. And I just about lost it. And I was like, here's what I'm going to do. This is what I said to myself going into the show. I'm going to tell him you are fake news. You destroy accuracy in the media. You destroy trust in the media. And you owe everyone on CNN an apology for Russia, for Russiagate, for COVID, for the Stormy Daniels lawyer. I said, this is my last episode because they're never going to have me back after I do what I'm going to do. This was just a throwaway line because what happened was I got on set. The woman sitting next to me, who was also outraged, and I wasn't even speaking to her, she was making comments of white man humor the whole run into the show. And I was like, and we're just it just freaking irked me. I'm like, I would never say opposite racial things like that, but if I did, I wouldn't even make it to the show open. But it was just like the double standard. Then I said on the show that people in the media said that everyone who attended the Trump rally was a Nazi. Abby said that wasn't true. Totally true. Which, by the way, Abby has falsely corrected me on air for things I said it was true. Like she said, I made up the word, the Ferguson effect, which
I know
very clearly,
right.
Even though she wrote about it 10 years ago.
Right.
So anyway, I did the thing. It was a throwaway line. We go to commercial. Mehdi throws his mic on the table, storms out of the place. I'm not going to be on with him. Abby is like, can you please step aside? Because Allison was like, he needs to leave. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass. I hope you don't get in trouble with corporate. I told the producer, I hope you don't get in trouble with corporate. I didn't mean to do anything to harm you. Because they've always been very lovely to me, and I'm a professional. And that was that. And I was like, okay, cool. And then, you would have thought I'm responsible for the Hindenburg disaster, the way that people are responding to it. I'm like, calm the freaking hell down. I said to somebody who, by the way, always sits there and stands up for terrorists, or sits there and stands up and kowtows to terrorists, that and terrorist funding countries, that they are that their beef doesn't blow up. It's a joke, whatever. Grow a pair. I don't know. I'm a man. If you sit there and make a joke at my expense and then you apologize if I'm really offended, whatever, I'm over it in 30 seconds.
Right.
I'm not going to go storm off and act like, what.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, Ryan, people probably don't know a lot about this guy, Mehdi Hasan. Is he, I'm sure you've looked into him a little bit more since all of this has gone down. I mean, he does seem to be well known for conveniently taking the side of terrorists over and over and over again. What do we know about what his beliefs are?
I don't know him. I don't watch cable news. I certainly don't watch MSNBC. I mean, I watch cable news once in a while. I don't watch MSNBC unless it's an election night where they're losing and they're all crying on set. I don't. So I don't know what he's all about. I genuinely don't. I Googled him maybe 15 years ago. He said that non-believers are all cattle and animals and that gays are pedophiles. So that was basic. And he said that he apologized since then. But that's basically all you need to know is where they're coming from. And I think that he was doing a show with the nation of I think it was Qatar. I don't know. I don't want to sit there and say anything, but he was doing a show with a foreign country at one point. He was booted off MSNBC. Whatever. I don't know, but literally I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to sit there and say more. I've heard things, but I can't back all them up.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like when you're talking about
it's not great. It's not great.
Right. When you're talking about rhetorical flourish of sorts, you could put your comment and him calling you a Nazi in roughly the same category, right? It's an overstatement. Sure, you're making a point. It's a debate. But when someone comes after you and calls you the worst, a member of the worst group of people that anyone can ever imagine, it's sort of normal to come back and be a little prickly about the situation.
Well, also the thing is, they will never know what it's like to be a conservative in the media. They will never. The only Democrat in probably the history of the world who know what it's like to be a Republican is Joe Biden. In the 1 month that they all sat there and said, you have to get out, and the whole media was against them. They do not know what it's like to do show after show where the hosts are biased and the guests are biased, and it's 3-on-1 screaming at you constantly. And you're like, hey, I read the statistics somewhere, and it doesn't really matter. Because what is important is the narrative. That's all they care about. It is the narrative and the narrative and the narrative. And if you sit there and you shoot against the narrative for so long, it is, they have to get rid of you. I don't care. It's not like I was going to get a show on CNN anyway. I live a completely normal life. I do school board elections with the 1776 Project. That's what I do. This is just something I did, for 3.25 episode, if you think about it.
You were only on 3.25 episodes?
Of Abby's show, and then the other show is on twice. I did maybe 5.25 shows in 3 weeks. Yeah,
that's amazing.
All of them went viral.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think every single one of them went viral. I thought you were on all the time because I know every single time I turn on the Twitter, you're going viral for this.
No, I was on the whole network less than a full 6 episodes. And, whatever. I didn't care. But I had two, I want to give credit to some person. To the booking person at CNN who originally talked to me, they said, we're looking for a Republican. I said, if you want a Republican who's going to apologize for being a Republican, it ain't me. And they said, that's not what we're looking for, so you can come on. I said, okay, great. I told them flat out who I was, that I was very open and honest. I'm not going to apologize for being a Republican. I'm not going to attack Donald Trump, not on CNN. My grandmother would kill me. That is not going to be me. And so, whatever. That's all fine. And they let me on, so I'm lucky to have the opportunity. Probably could have handled it differently, but at the end of the day, I'm not a Nazi, and the fact that one guest gets to call another guest a Nazi, and the other one can't have a flippant joke. That was funny, by the way.
Objectively a funny line.
It is.
I mean, it is. It is a little roast comedian. Like we just had this experience with the MSG situation. Mm-hmm. It's in that category, which they might not like, but objectively a funny line.
So, can I ask you, when the producers called, they said you were a little reluctant to come on the air. Why?
When they called about what?
Coming on the air here. Here.
Well,
yeah.
Because, listen, I mean, I didn't want to, not that I don't care about amplifying the story. I don't think it is a story. No one, in 24 hours, someone's going to find something else to be outraged with. I went to a party literally a few days ago, a conservative party, and every 4 seconds, some stranger I didn't know yelled at me, the Ferguson effect. And I was like, great. And I was like, and then I'm like, oh, great, I'm going to call beeper for the rest of my life now. So I was like, I don't want to sit there and just be talking about this forever. So I was like, okay, I'll do a few shows today and then none after this, and that will be that. And, because I was like, listen, I have a moment where I can talk about my PAC, talk about the school board elections, and mention it while I'm doing it. And that'll be that. I just don't think anyone's really going to care about it come in a couple of weeks.
So,
And by the way, one other thing, by the way, that other segment that I was on, I wasn't want to say this. This is the most insane story in the world. This is a total normal CNN segment that I was on. I was on a segment with the Ferguson effect, and the two women next to me, Ashley Allison, I don't remember the other girl's name because we only spent 5 minutes together. We did a segment for 25 minutes, almost a half an hour. And one of them looked at the one I don't remember. She looked at Ashley Allison on set right when we commercial break, pointed at me and goes, "What's his name?" And she goes, "I have no idea." We've been on the show for 30 minutes together, and our names were publicly announced, and didn't sit there and say "Oh, hi, nice to meet you," yada yada yada. A lot of just mean girl nonsense like that. So anyway, just wanted to.
So the 1776 project, is that the 1776 project that was banned by or stopped immediately after Biden got into office?
No. This is a PAC to flip school board elections. We have done over almost 1,000 school board elections in 3 years. We put money directly into school board races to support conservatives for a myriad of issues, everything from testing standards to enforcement of school rules to CRT to the trans issue. There's one school board in Texas that we literally put every single seat in. So we have done this. We have races coming up in Maryland and in Arizona next week. We have put hundreds of thousands of dollars into those races, and we're trying to sit there and get conservatives elected across the country to protect kids' public education.
How do you feel about the election?
I'm nervous. Listen, I think Trump's doing well in the Sun Belt. I wrote something for my Substack 2 days ago. The big craziest thing in the world, and this is going to drive you nuts. In 2020, the census admitted that they got the data wrong, and they gave extra seats, congressional seats, to Rhode Island, Colorado, and Minnesota over Texas was supposed to get one extra, and Florida was supposed to get two. If Trump wins the Sun Belt and loses the 3 Rust Belt states, he will lose the election 270 to 268. Had they not misallocated those 3 seats, he would have won 271 to 267. It's so things like that. I'm at this point playing in my head, driving me crazy. He's got to win one Rust Belt state. We just got to win Michigan, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania. Thinking about Florida now. Pennsylvania. I think things look good. Republicans are voting like their life depends on it, which is great. We need to do a little bit more, and we just need to get some independence along the way, and he should win one of those states.
Let me ask you, what's your take on the support behind Kamala?
I think that a lot of it is people who, one, hate Trump, and they're just broken to hate Trump. I think that a part of it is also the astroturfed female empowerment nonsense that she's just so great. And I mean, look, she went from being Selena Myers on Veep to being a girl boss in 24 hours in the media. Everyone remembers, and this is why they hid her for so long. It's why they're keeping her hidden. She has $1 billion. It's a lot of money. She has all these unions. It's a lot of effort. What she doesn't have is a lot of support, but she's harping on this fascism and Nazism thing because she's got one group that can put her in the White House, and that is suburban moms and dads who are very scared of it, and they don't have to worry about tax cuts because they make a lot of money. They don't live in a high crime neighborhood. Their kids go to good schools. They are insulated in a very comfortable bubble. A lot of them live in places that look like the 1950s. So they don't have this feeling. They all have Ukraine flags because it means nothing to them. But Hispanics, blacks, Muslims, Jews, people who have a lot of stake on the line because they're living in communities that deal with 2020 and afterwards, they're increasingly voting for Trump. And that is why she's harping so heavily that if you don't do this, if you don't vote for me, you're a bad person. You're a bad white person. You're a bad mom. You're a bad suburban person. You're a bad person. You have to vote for me. And that is her closing message. I don't know how effective it will be, but I mean, these people all vote. They all vote. So the non-college educated, white, working class, blue collar guy out in Pennsylvania, there were 2.66 million of them in 2016 who were not even registered to vote. A lot have registered since then. 20% of all early votes for Republicans are first-time voters. It's got to stay that way, and it's got to increase. Wow. Yeah, that was the day that was released out yesterday.
Ryan, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and hope we talk again. 1776 Project PAC founder, political consultant, and a guy who should wear this as a badge of honor, now banned from CNN for telling the truth and telling a joke.